If the business requires somebody who's as good as you to run, then the model doesn't work.
Now, one of the most common limiting beliefs entrepreneurs have is that no one can do it as good as they can. But this eventually creates something called key man risk. And this is the next business principle that I use. And so fundamentally, every business, if it's relying on any person, whether it's the entrepreneur or otherwise, that person is going to be key man. Now, this is a double-edged sword because the better you get at something, the more key man you are. And so the more you've invested in yourself, and in some ways, you become a liability for the business as much as you are an asset.
So one of the big issues that, especially like when you're coming up, the problem is that everyone here, we had to learn all these different things, right? We had to learn marketing, we had to learn sales, we learned product, we learned hiring, we had to learn all this different stuff, right? And then we want to hire one person who's lived our entire lives and then expect them to work for us for a fraction of what we pay ourselves and are barely even willing to keep doing what we're doing. So we have to break it into parts. And so I give the analogy of the unicorn, right? So like you're a unicorn in your business. You looking for unicorns is probably not a productive activity. But if you wanted to create something that was an approximation of a unicorn, it's like, okay, well, I need the horn, so I can go find a rhinoceros and I'll get the horn part. And then, but that body's not gonna work. So I gotta go get a horse, and then I gotta go get my fireflies, and I can add those on. And so I just bolt on the horn of the rhinoceros onto the horse and get some fireflies. Is it as good as you? No, but it'll be pretty good. And so if the business requires somebody who's as good as you to run, then the model doesn't work. If the business can work with somebody who's half as good as you, then you're always going to sacrifice some margin in order to scale. But now that company can then go from 20 to 40 and I can make 8 on 40 and it requires 0 of me. And so again, it's this, a lot of times we have our ego tied to, because you said it, you're like, I got to this, and you're like, and then as soon as I'm there, there's this, you know, like, and so it's because you have this tie for whatever reason that like, if it's not this number, you suck, or whatever that is for you. And so we need to be able to give up some of that profit in order to break the activities that you currently do into component parts. So you look at what you do in a current week, and then you start parsing out, okay, you could take the entire time study, plug it into GPT, and just say, hey, what roles, if I were to replace 100% of these activities, what is the smallest amount of roles that could replace all of them? And give me the job description and names for those. And it's like, okay, well, then actually you do some HR shit, and you do some marketing stuff, and then you do some sales shit. Okay, great. So you need one of these, one of these, and one of these. Am I willing to do that so I can actually have something that works? And like, but that thing is that once you get there though, you will finally be able to get to 500 or $1 million a month or whatever the next stopping point is. And then you'll be like, fuck, I don't know how to hire this next person. And then you'll fail for a while and then you'll get it. You just can't stop. You can't stop trying.